It's Friday, the 2nd of June 2023. Welcome to the Fast Five by Fear and Greed, where we give you the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Sean, 5 stories in 5 minutes. Let's jump into story number 1. It's a biggie. BHP says about 28,500 past and present employees have been underpaid $430 million, conceding that it had wrongly deducted annual leave from staff entitlements for more than a decade.
The company reported itself to the Fair Work Ombudsman and said the issue related to the accounting treatment of public holidays, which had been miscalculated since 2010. Media reports say that BHP systems didn't update sufficiently to account for new legislation back then. It's a bit of a flashpoint story because BHP has created an in-house contracting team called Operation Services. Now, most Operation Services staff are based in the Queensland coalfields and earn wages that are lower than those earned by workers at the same mines who are covered by a different enterprise agreement. That's the sort of arrangement that the Albanese government's same job, same pay legislation aims to abolish. That legislation is still being negotiated, and yesterday Employment Minister Tony Burke jumped on the BHP news to push for the legislation.
Sean, underpayment is becoming a really serious issue, isn't it? There's been a heap of recent examples of it.
Sure have. Retailers, banks, now BHP. Mass underpayment by major corporates has soared during the past 4 years. The Fair Work Ombudsman recovered a record $532 million in back pay last financial year, more than half of which came from big companies who were forced to pay back $279 million to more than 267,000 employees. I think this story will keep going. Just a quick note also, today we get the Fair Work Commission decision on the annual minimum and award wages, somewhere between 4 and 7%. If it's at the upper end of that, particularly the award wages, that'll put pressure on the Reserve Bank to lift rates again.
Okay, on to story number 2. After 110 days in court, 41 witnesses and around $25 million in legal fees, Justice Anthony Basenko has found that The Age, the Sydney Morning Herald and the Canberra Times have proven some allegations of war crimes against Victoria Cross recipient Ben Roberts-Smith.
It's probably the biggest defamation trial ever in Australia, and Justice Pazenko found the news outlets had established the substantial truth of the key allegation in the case that Robert Smith was involved in the unlawful killing of unarmed Afghan prisoners. Justice Pazenko ruled that Mr. Robert Smith had committed murders of civilians, including a farmer kicked off a cliff in the village of Darwan and a one-legged man dragged from a tunnel at the compound known as Whiskey 108. The finding pretty much ends Robert Smith's treasured reputation as a war hero. He claimed that the articles wrongly accused him of war crimes in Afghanistan. The papers stood by the articles. They called 26 witnesses, including former Special Air Services soldiers and 3 Afghan locals, to give evidence. At the end of the day, Robert Smith has lost the defamation case.
Story number 3, Sean. Last week, Commonwealth Bank boss Matt Comyn mandated that staff come into the office at least 50% of the time. And yesterday, it became clear just how many people will actually be affected when Comyn said thousands of CBA employees are currently coming into the office less than 1 day a week.
Yes. The bank's around 50,000 employees and management want them to spend more time in the office. Comyn's argument, as he explained on Sydney's radio station 2GB yesterday, is that certain types of work are done more effectively in person. There's greater opportunities for mentoring, and people who are new to the bank are more successful when they spend more time in the office. He also said the main reasons given by CommBank staff for not coming into the office are parental duties and the cost of commute. Interesting. Still, less than 1 day a week? That ain't much in the office, Michael.
It certainly isn't. Okay, on to story number 4 now. Just a quickie, Sean. People are moving between capital cities and regions at the highest rate in 5 years, driven by employment opportunities and industry growth.
More people in the major cities of Sydney and Melbourne are heading for a life in regional areas, while the number of people moving from regional areas to the cities is also at its highest since 2018. The Regional Movers Index is a partnership between Commonwealth Bank and the Regional Australia Institute. It looks at trends in people moving around the country. While people are moving away from Sydney and Melbourne, Perth and Brisbane are popular destinations. Across the board, regional Victoria and tropical Queensland were the key destinations for capital city movers, accounting for about 43% and nearly 30% share of net outflows. In contrast, the number of people moving to regional New South Wales actually fell.
Last one, story number 5. If you've ever been frustrated by surge pricing implemented by Uber and others, there is a tiny bit of good news out of New South Wales, Sean.
Yes, Uber prices during Black Swan events and public transport outages will be artificially suppressed under an agreement struck by the New South Wales government. After successive disruptions to Sydney's rail network, Uber prices reached ridiculously high levels under the company's surge model, and the state government has reached an agreement to limit prices skyrocketing in the affected areas. In the instance of public transport network failures, price surging will be capped at 2 times prices. In Black Swan events, things like terrorist attacks or natural disasters, price surging will remain at normal rates. Okay, it's not much, Michael, but it's a start.
Yeah, it certainly is, Sean. There we go. The top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
It's Friday, the 2nd of June, 2023. Remember to hit follow on the podcast, and if 5 minutes isn't enough for you, you can find our longer daily show called Fear and Greed, wherever you listen to podcasts. And don't forget as well to follow us on social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was the Fast 5 by Fear and Greed. Have a great day.